Welcome everybody. See you all coming in now. Hope you've had a good day and it's not been too sort of arduous for you. I know getting introduced to a new course solely online must be a bit testing at times, but I've heard really good feedback about what you've all done so far today, so that's brilliant. You really need to know this is a relatively short session. The presentation will be 15 to 20 minutes long, and then, you know, if there's any sort of additional questions or anything at the end, then we will have time to go through those as well. But as I say, it's goal setting isn't the sort of hugest subject in terms of when we're doing a bit of introduction to it for you. So we won't be here for quite as long as some of the sessions, I imagine. Just a little note, we have somebody in this call just kind of observing what's going on, Adam Woodage. So if you see a name that you're not familiar with there, that's why. Adam's previously been involved with the talent pathway, has been really successful coming through the other side, and now does a lot of volunteering with England Handball, supports a lot of stuff on the talent pathway, but is just watching this for a bit of sort of CPD for himself. I can just see a few more people joining now, so we'll just give it a second until we get going. Cal Brandreth, what are you eating? I'm jealous. I've not eaten yet today.
Maryland cookies.
Cookies. That's a disappointing answer.
Well, it is.
Didn't
especially
you have
after
your nutrition?
I did do that, yeah. But they were in the sun and they were melting, so I thought I've got to kind of save them.
Fair enough. So, well, I'll be checking your diary, your food diary. That's included. Okay, so it looks like we're all here, so we'll get started now. As I said, but just for the benefit of the people who've just come through a bit later there, we're going through smart goal setting in this session. It's not the biggest sort of presentation in the world. It's just going to be a quick route through it, and then if there's any questions at the end, obviously feel free to ask those. But it's just to give you guys a decent understanding of goal setting and the importance, and also the importance in respect to the work that you'll be doing, because my experience assessing the work over the last year, the main sort of area that we're sending work back to the learners is around the goal setting, maybe not quite being up to scratch, or them not quite hitting that sort of SMART criteria. So if my presentation wants to work, so just got a little. Maybe it doesn't want to work. So in terms of achieving a goal, just got a little sort of graphic on the screen here. So setting goals and planning how to achieve them helps us to aim high at school, at home, or in work, and obviously in sport as well. So it's this whole process, not just about the written goal itself. It's about everything that goes in around that as well. So, you know, you have your target, a small step on the way to achieving your goal. Attitude, obviously a really important part of goal setting, because having the motivation and the effort you need to achieve your goal. Skills, so these are the abilities and the expertise relevant to your goal, and a strategy, so that's the plan, which is actually going to break your goal down into achievable chunks. So, you know, when you're thinking about the goal, you have to think about all these different areas as you're writing the goal. And when you're actually sort of, you know, in your day-to-day practicing the things that you've written in the plan section, then again, it's really important to bear these things in mind throughout. So I'm sure a lot of you have come across SMART, full acronym SMART. If any, can any of you name what the sort of acronym stands for? So we've got the S. Anyone want to sort of shout out over the microphone what the S might stand for? Any takers?
Specific.
Let's see. Oh, I've written smart. That's a massive blunder on my part. I've written smart rather than specific. But yeah, you are completely right. That is specific. Because I was going to send this out for your sort of future record, so I'll make sure I change that before I do that. But so absolutely specific. So when you're doing the goal setting, it's really, really important that there is that good level of specificity to what you're writing. If it's too vague, then it's not going to help you in any way at all. We've got some examples of that on some future slides.
Chris, just before you move on, I'm just going to ask whoever's named themselves as iPhone in the as their username, they're going to be removed unless they change their name to their full name. I'm going to give them 30 seconds. So I've sent them a message already, but we're not having people that are unnamed in there. Thank you. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, do you want me to just wait for the name change to happen, or?
No, you can carry on.
Yeah, okay. So next up, for the M in SMART, can anyone shout out what the M would be standing for?
Measurable.
Measurable, there we go. Few people at once there. Measurable, exactly right. So this is, for me, one of the most important parts that a lot of the time we overlook when we're setting goals. It's easy to say that I will score more goals in a handball match, but how are we going to make that measurable? What context are we going to add to give it that sort of that measurable element? Okay, so next, A. Any volunteers for that?
Is it achievable?
Yeah, bang on, Cal. Oh, well, achievable, attainable. Yeah, so same sort of thing there. Just keeping it attainable and realistic. So we got R next.
Realistic.
Well, so this is actually it varies. I've seen the acronym written I've seen it written as realistic, but I always think like realistic and attainable are probably quite similar in terms of their meaning. So relevant in terms of when you're setting a goal, it has to. There's no point setting a goal which isn't relevant to your sort of to your long-term goals. So obviously keeping it relevant. And T, last one.
Time bound.
Time bound, exactly. Yeah. So the final one is time bound, and again, this is something that we often overlook. I think there are loads of statistics that I've previously seen around this, that if you set sort of a time frame for your goals, then you're a certain percentage more likely to actually achieve them or work towards them. So I think that is, again, a really significant part of that. So on the next slide, I've got a example from a previous DiSE cohort's goal setting on the financial workbook. So I thought this was a really good example of, okay, somebody's got a clear idea of what it is they want to achieve for all of their short, medium, and long-term goals. But they definitely have some areas they can improve. So can you guys tell me what could be better on this bit of goal setting here, especially thinking about it being specific, measurable, and so on. Okay, so anyone feel free to unmute yourself and shout out. What improvements would you make to this to maybe make it more measurable or more specific?
Probably to have like more detail.
Yeah, more detail. So if we had the example of use my monthly income to pay for a driving lesson in blocks of 10, what sort of additional detail could you add?
Probably like how long, like monthly.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, I think how long for, obviously they've got the target date there, but I think adding some more information to make it more time bound and more measurable is absolutely right. So we've got Jake in the chat as well as written how they're going to save up. Yeah, absolutely. So the method that you would use there, really, really important. Has anybody else got anything else? No? Okay, so I mean, yeah, really good examples, given that I have gone back and sort of redone this person's, obviously not for their actual piece of work, but I've gone and redone these goals in a way that I think fits more with the criteria of making it smart. So in the short-term goals, still pay for my driving lesson, but now the goal is, I currently have an income surplus of £70 a month. I will set up a savings account with depositing £50 a month. By December, I will save £200 to pay for my driving lessons. So it's just adding that extra bit of detail. If you want to read through the other two yourself, I think that would be really useful. But the reason that I've done this, and I will send it to you to use in future sort of sessions, or when you're completing the workbooks in future, you can use this as a point of reference, because so often we are receiving this, and as soon as if I see somebody doing goal setting, and it's one line of text in the plan, then I will be pretty much sending that straight back to have more information added. So you will certainly save yourself a lot of hassle from the assessors if you try to follow this sort of model slightly more and just include that extra information. So on this last slide, just included some extra information about how can the right attitude help you achieve your goals. So have people heard of growth mindset? I know it's something that schools occasionally touch on and things like that. I think the term growth mindset, I don't like to attach to things too often, because I think it can almost distract from the point sometimes. But these 5 points in this first column are really important for you as an athlete, for you as a student, whatever it's going to be. This is a really useful process for you to apply to achieve your goals. So asking for and acting upon feedback about your performance. So obviously the tips, how you can do it there. It says basketball here rather than handball, but it's not the end of the world. And then who can help you, and then what will this help me achieve? So again, I just think that in terms of goal setting, it's such a useful tool that if it's not done correctly, it can sometimes have a detrimental impact rather than the positive one that it's designed to have. You will be doing goal setting from now the rest of your life, more or less, be it in work, in education, in sport. For some people, it comes more easily than others. I was definitely one of the people who it didn't really take for me straight away. It took a lot of practice for me to be able to develop good goal setting practices. But now that I feel like I'm good at goal setting and I can do it competently, it's really, really useful tool that I use throughout my life on a pretty much daily basis. So that was the reason why I decided that I thought it'd be important that we covered this, even though it was a very short presentation, because that's it. I know that you've been in hours worth of Zoom calls today, so I'm not going to sort of labour the point too much. But you will have this presentation as well. So if you want to go back and use it as a point of reference in future, you will have that in your emails. Has anyone got any questions, or have any of the other staff on the call got anything to add? Give you a second now. If you want to write questions in the chat box as well, feel free. I love these awkward moments of silence when you're waiting to see if somebody is going to ask a question or not.
Chris,
my favourite part of a Zoom call. Go on, mate.
I've got something to ask, and it's if someone would be willing to have a think over the next few minutes, and maybe it's at the end, share an example of goals that they've set themselves and how they went about it. And if we don't have one, I'm going to pick on someone, because I know that this actually happens and people do it. They might not formalise it so much, but it would be great if someone would be willing to share an example for the rest of the group. And as you mentioned before about these awkward silences, we're going to have to get used to working in this way and sharing information across this platform. So either volunteer, or you might be, as we call it in the business, cold called on by myself.
I can share a goal that I've done because I did GCSE PE, so we did SMART goals then, and they made me set a SMART goal in year 9 to finish by year 11. I've not quite done it yet, but I've been chipping away at it, especially over lockdown as well. Keep doing it. My goal was a bit of a long shot, but it was to be able to dunk a basketball. A bit far for a 6-foot person, but oh well. But basically what I did was every week I was in the gym doing leg exercises, doing like pushing my 1-rep maxes and stuff, trying to increase my explosiveness. And I recorded it, how high I could jump every week, testing it. And then I took video footage right at the start of year 9, barely being able to touch the backboard. And now, after leaving year 11, I can grab onto the rim fully. So that's sort of like my progress through it. And I've got it all recorded. And I use that in some of my coursework for GCSE PE. So that sort of helped me push to keep maintaining it and stuff. So that's one of the goals that I set. Wasn't
amazing.
Didn't fit SMART specifically, but keeping recording it every so often and just trying to push yourself further. And obviously, well, the time limit sort of creeped up on me without me knowing before I could fully do it. But that's
Carl, thanks for sharing. I'm going to ask a question now. Sorry to interject, Chris. And it's about I really appreciate some of the stuff you were talking about in terms of the video, monitoring of your progress, recording your vertical jump, actually having the goal that you set. How do you think that all those things that you spoke about impacted your motivation to achieve the goal?
Well, seeing it every week slowly increasing bit by bit was like really inspiring, because at the start you don't really see any improvement at all, so you kind of think, is it actually worth it? Am I going to get anything out of it? But seeing like the video now, watching it back right at the start of year 9, being able to jump or being barely able to touch the backboard, it's really sort of like, it's just positive on your mind, because it makes you want to carry on doing it. So it just sort of like, well, it gave me the little boost that I needed to keep going at it. And obviously now it's sort of paid off, and I'm glad that I've kept doing it.
That's brilliant. Cal, thanks for sharing that fantastic example with us, and I hope there's a few more examples as we go through the rest of the presentation with Chris. Sorry, Chris, you can get back to it, mate.
No, because the last stage for me was actually going to get getting everyone to write down one SMART goal each, and then we're going to pick on some people. So inadvertently jumped the gun there slightly, Bobby, but I think it's good. So now we've had one great example from Cal there, which I think is actually going to be really beneficial for the rest of you now, setting a smart goal for yourselves. But if we could all take a moment now, I imagine you've got a pen and paper or your phone close by. I'm going to go back to this previous slide, if it lets me. So we're going to leave that example on the screen now. I'm just going to give you 2 minutes, guys, to have a think about a goal that you'd like to set. It doesn't have to be anything to do with the DiSE work specifically, or anything to do with the handball specifically. You know, obviously, Cal chose dunking a basketball, the example that he gave there. But you're going to have 2 minutes now to come up with any goal that you'd like to set, and then we're going to pick a few examples out. You know what? I'll pick on 2 girls and 2 boys. I think probably a fair way to do it. To read out what your SMART goals are, and then we will have a bit of discussion afterwards to see if we think it's hit that sort of criteria of being a SMART goal. Okay, so you have 2 minutes now, guys. I don't know if Bob wants to fill the silence with a bit of music or something, you know, a bit of guitar.
Sorry, mate, the guitar is packed up at the other place, so I don't have it with me today. Fortunately for our listeners.
He does a lovely rendition of Gold Digger.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for the big up. For those of you that are listening to this, for those of you that don't know, Chris and I used to be in a band when we lived in Denmark together. We used to play a few covers, Stand By Me being one of our favourites that we did, and My Girl and all kinds of stuff from the 60s. So if you could believe it, we were wasted on the handball court, weren't we, Chris?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's got nothing to do with the band, but yeah. So I had a little request from Jake there to go back to the SMART page, but if anybody wants to see the example goals I did as well, just write in the chat and we can flip back to that as well. Okay.
When you said request then, Chris, I thought it was a song request.
Piano Man, mate, go.
Oh, what a tune.
So looking through the videos, I can see people still writing, so just give you another minute.
I was actually learning Rocket Man last night, Chris.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Thought I might as well get on that. Alex likes it.
You have to send me a little rendition in the old voice notes, mate.
I will, mate. Stand by. I always find it quite interesting when we can see people's backgrounds on these things, Chris. I'm looking at Luke Chung's room. It looks very busy, Luke. Got lots of stuff going on in the background there, mate. So talk us through it. What have you got going on in the back there?
Like tickets from flights or trains or places I've been.
Awesome. Keeping a record, eh?
Nice, mate.
Yeah, of sorts.
Chris, question in the group?
Yeah, back to the, there we go. So see if people with their heads down writing, so I'll just give you a little bit longer.
Can I just jump in quickly, Chris, as well?
Of course, yeah.
No, I'm just interested to know and to maybe see what people are writing in, but I would recommend, and it doesn't have to be a handball book that you've got, but getting a book that you do all of your handball stuff in from this point. If you've got a process in place, and I'm sure, and I'm going to put you on the spot again, Cal, I'm sure you probably have got a process in place for doing your videos on your phone, on a drive somewhere. But think about how you might record stuff that you're doing. Because again, as Cal has said, it's not always about where you've got to, but sometimes you get a real positive boost. And I know Casper would reaffirm this. You get a real confidence boost, which was an issue that was raised in both mental skills talks, from reflecting on the journey you've taken so far and the distance you've traveled. Mm-hmm. So I would recommend, and I'm going to probably put together a little video regarding how I've begun to use this handball book. And I mentioned about the Olympic team earlier on, because they're part of the group that I've referred to. And I've actually got some notes here, whether you can see Bobby's name's on there. Chris's name is on there. So Chris, at the time of the Olympics, was 23. So you can date how old he is now, from 2012. But I'm trying to sort of put together a draft version of some handball stuff in here. And I'd encourage you to do the same. And again, the theme of how we're developing the program is we're trying to make this as useful as we possibly can for you without getting tied down into workbook. So we will also talk about a way of you being able to index that and use that as evidence. And I think we're fortunate, and this is no disrespect to Chris, Liz, who's on the call, and Sue and Nathan, our other two assessors, but we've got Joao now on board, whose full-time role is with England Handball, not just for DiSE, and I'm totally aware of that, but he can actually spend some time helping us to develop a system of using notebooks and putting together a kind of a diary, a training log that actually can help you benefit in the future, you know. And just time filling a little bit for you there, Chris, before you pick on two girls and two boys. But I found from my experience, and I'll save it for another day, I've got some records back when I was developing my skills that I look back at every so often now and go, wow, that was amazing. I'm so glad I took the time to do that. And maybe I was in a situation in my life where I was able to spend that time. I think one of the things that all of us would reinforce to you guys, although you're really busy and although your life is hectic, you'll never have this opportunity to spend this amount of time on your sport with support around you. And certainly all of the lockdown webinars and Zoom chats and elite athlete interviews that I've been part of, that's what the athletes say. They wish they'd have spent more time on their sport, focusing on their sport, not necessarily out there on the court, but thinking about what they were doing more so during, you know, their late teenage years, when they could have really made a significant difference to what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, thanks.
Absolutely. Right. So looking through the videos, I can see it looks like you've all finished now. So, I mean, we'll start with the girls. Are there any volunteers who want to bite that bullet, or am I just going to be picking on somebody? You've got 3 seconds to volunteer. Who looks most terrified about being picked? Right. Go Lucy Thornwell, please. Oh, that look of pure disgust.
I did mine, it was handball specific, so mine was to increase airtime when taking a jump shot. Mm-hmm. So delaying the shot, basically. Should I go through the specifics?
Yeah, that would be great. If you feel comfortable doing that, that'd be great, yeah.
Well, I think, I don't know if I've got it right or not. But I'd probably record my jump time with a stopwatch to begin with, so like my starting point. And then my goal would probably, I don't know if this is possible or not, but to increase that like time by either like 0.5 a millisecond to a second. So I'm happy with that range. Mm-hmm. And I'd probably do like plyometrics in like the legs, or building leg strength over like a, I think, I don't know, 3-week period would be my time set. I don't know. But that's all I've got.
No, that's great. Thank you so much for reading that out. I know it's always it's never fun to be picked on first. So thank you very much for that. Has anybody got any feedback on sort of like what they thought of Lucy's goal there? I thought it was an excellent sort of like well thought out goal. That was really good. But has anybody got any thoughts on that? Anyone fancy unmuting and diving in? No? Okay. So, I mean, if I was going to give you a piece of, sort of like constructive feedback, I'd say that, yeah, you've nailed the sort of the method of how you're going to do it in terms of, plyometric exercises and things like that. You have made it time bound and put that sort of 3-week time period on it, but maybe it's the realistic element that you would then sort of reflect on, but that's part of the process as well, because a lot of time you'd set a goal and you only realize it's not realistic through trying to execute it, so through executing your process. And then, that's down to you then getting to the end of that 3-week period, reflecting on what you've done, and then you're able to make that goal more realistic for your sort of like medium-term goal or your next short-term goal that you're going to try and achieve. But, even like probably three weeks to achieve that sort of increase in your plyometric training might be a little bit on the short side.
Yeah.
But no, I thought that was fantastic. A really well thought out goal, really relevant as well for you as a handball player. So I think that's fantastic.
Thank you.
No worries. So we'll have on the lads next. We got any volunteers from the lads? 3 seconds before I
can go. I'll do it.
Yeah. Crack on.
So my goal is to become faster over 30 meters because for like fast breaks as a left winger.
Mhm.
So my plan is over 6 weeks to do 3 training sessions a week and devise a training plan that works on lower body strength and sprinting technique that gradually get harder over the 6 weeks. So I'll test myself how fast I am at the start of the 6 weeks, but not just at the end, at the start of every week. So I can track throughout, doing 3 sprints at the start of each week and then taking the fastest time. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Has anybody got any feedback for Luke? Bobby, I don't know if you've got any feedback there. I mean, I personally thought that was excellent. As far as I could hear there, you know, you've hit all of the sort of smart criteria. It seemed like quite a realistic goal as well. And did you have an end date to achieve it?
It'd just be 6 weeks from now. I haven't worked that out, but I'd want to do it by half a second to a second faster by the end of the 6 weeks.
Okay, yeah. So that's yeah. So adding that extra bit of information at the end there, making it more measurable, so you can really track your progress. And as Don said before, you know, it lets you see sort of where you've come from as well in future. So yeah, that's fantastic.
I think, Chris, you asked me, sorry to interrupt, and something that I think is really important on Lucy's goal and Luke's goal that they've shared there is that whilst you guys are setting these targets, it's important to note that you've got people to bounce these off before they're concrete. So Lucy talking about how much time would be added to her jump, and Luke talking about how much faster he would be over that distance. You're probably plucking figures out of thin air, and judging by what Lucy said, I think that's accurate. And it's probably important to note that we've got people that would be able to advise on how realistic is it for you to achieve that goal. So when we talk about the relevant part of it, or the realistic, if we're using that as the R, or attainable. You know, if Luke's going to be half a second quicker over 30 meters, then that's an incredible increase in his time. So it'd probably be really useful at some stage to bounce that off of one of the members of the team, myself, Chris, Liz, Nathan, etc., and actually benchmark it against, well, what's the best person in the world at my age group getting on that particular area? Because if you're already running a 30-meter sprint in, let's say, under 4 seconds, well, that's not a bad time at all. But what's the best getting? There might be 3.5 seconds. So then you would start looking at how we can actually benchmark against the players of similar standards, if you like, to where we are at. So that's the only feedback I've got at this stage, Chris.
Yep. So brilliant. That's brilliant. So we'll do 2 more.
Can I give you something, Chris?
Yeah.
Also, you both establish some goals with the physical part very, very high. No, it's most the physical part. How can you try to think about that? How can you take it to a tech-tac part of your objective? Can you think about that? How can you change it to a tech-tac measurable objective? Lucy, you understood me? No.
No, I don't know what you mean by that.
Lucy, you do understand, and you actually mentioned a little bit about it, but maybe go into a bit more detail about, you were talking about delaying your shot.
Oh, delaying my shot. Yeah, as a yeah, okay, I get you now. But yeah, that was like the whole point of it. It was tactical, I think. I don't know.
So explore on that.
Yeah.
Why it is important for you as a handball player?
Like, so I've got a more option. I can read the goalie, see which way they're possibly going, or where I think it's best option to shoot. If I've got more time in the air, then I have a better option. So, yeah, I don't know.
And more time in the air means more distance travel, probably. So
Yeah.
you've got more angle if you're jumping from the wing.
Yeah.
So the important is that it's not just physical. Handball is a team sport. No, it's a ball with two teams, so we can be very fast, jump very high, but we have to think always about our team, the opponent, some of those aspects. And about you, Luke?
So if it's like the tactical approach, it would be reading cues on when to start the sprint. So in a game, it would be, when do you begin your run for the fast break? Is it when the goalkeeper gets the ball, or is it before that, when the opposition's taking a shot? So that would be dependent on what your coach wants you to do, whether you want to be a bit more solid at the back and only go when the goalkeeper's got it, or just go as soon as possible, as soon as the ball's left the attacker's hands.
Very good. Yeah, like that. Thank you.
Brilliant. So I'm going to pick on, if we go for Alice, that'd be great.
There's a couple of Alice's, Chris.
Oh, is that? Sorry, I'm
Which one?
Alice Abyss. I'm looking at it as a Abyss. I'm sorry, I'm not saying it wrong.
Yeah, that's okay. My goal is actually the same.
Okay.
About being able to jump higher and holding a jump while shooting.
Okay, so do you want to talk us through the sort of your written plan of action section of that?
Yeah, so I made mine a bit longer, so it would be kind of more of a couple of months. I was thinking maybe 3 months, because I think the idea of more of a long-term goal means that there's opportunities to kind of branch out from it and kind of realize more and realize, okay, I want to focus more on jumping a further distance, or maybe focusing on trying to get to a certain height, or like when to use a jump, or like if you're thinking maybe even like 9-meter shots, or just kind of have more of a chance to kind of develop from that goal. And I'd follow I know there's a jump program, like a fitness program, I think that McDermott did. So following that, or like continuing with that, and working on specific workouts that focus on legs and that kind of that movement from the jump. And then also taking videos of myself jumping, because I think seeing yourself from a different perspective can be really useful in understanding which jumps you thought were most successful, and kind of understanding what you did differently. And also you can also time how high your jump is from a video. And yeah, that's kind of mostly what I did. And then also setting like smaller goals within that. So maybe, let's say, trying to improve my jump time by like half a second for the first month, and then the second month maybe working on the distance of the jump. So working on trying to jump an extra, like even like half a meter would be quite a challenge. So working on like different aspects over different times.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I got.
So yeah, no, that was brilliant. It was I mean, like in terms of how you've put the goal together, I think it's great. It definitely fits in with what we talked about. Like, I'll go back to sort of Bobby's point you raised earlier about, it's a great sort of thing for you to take to a coach or an S&C coach and say, these are my goals, and then they'll help shape that into something that's really realistic in terms of time frames, and sort of the actual improvements that we're going to make as well, how we quantify them. But I think in terms of the structure of how you've put a goal together, I think that's really good. So we'll just have one more, and we'll have it from Nathan McDonald, and then you're all free.
So I look at like some of my matches sometimes, and I realise that I flinch quite a lot when I'm in the goal. So I've set mine around like trying to reduce the amount that I flinch in the goal. So I thought like to help it, I could do like some drills where like just extra shooting, like people shooting at me, them sort of drills, but also like it's one where you like lie on the ground, people bounce the ball next to your face just to get you used to like the ball coming near to your face, but not exactly hitting it, because that's the whole fear of it. That's why I flinched, the fear of getting hit in the face really hard or something. So I thought if I could like do that for a couple of months or so, and then after a while I'd see like little flinching in my game at all, so it'd get to a point where I wasn't flinching at all, and then I could develop the goal further and start looking at myself as a goalkeeper more and not have to worry about the flinching aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was pretty much all I got.
Okay, yeah, it's a good handball civic goal there. I think the one thing I'd say about in terms of smart is that I didn't hear anything about a more objective way to measure it. So you talked about being able to see if you were flinching a bit less, but it wasn't particularly objective. So you maybe put some sort of measures in there, so you can actually track the progress, and then also sort of like the frequency of how you're doing these exercises, who you're doing them with. Are you just going to grab 5 minutes before your club session, or are you going to find your own sort of dedicated time to do these sort of extra drills for yourself? You're going to ask your coach if they can embed it into the session for you. So it's like, it's a great goal, but I think that's the reason why we chose to go over this, because unless you're ticking all the boxes in terms of being smart, then it's just not going to be as effective as it could possibly be. But it's a great goal, with the addition of something like, I'm going to do this twice a week at 10 minutes at the start of my club sessions. I think that would be a fantastic goal in terms of structure. But yeah, no, good work anyway, mate. And if you're looking to set that goal for future, maybe just take that feedback on board and try and structure the goal slightly differently. Bobby, have you got anything to add there about Nathan's flinching? I thought that was your favourite part of goalkeeping, getting hit in the face.
Yeah, I would say learn to embrace saving the ball with your face. That helps you not flinch. But I'm gonna actually deflect the question to João, because I know João's been coaching goalkeepers of a really high level and also in the youth academies in Benfica. João, do you understand the word flinching? It's when the goalkeepers are afraid a little bit of the ball. You're on mute right now, so unmute yourself, mate.
Sorry, I wrote the word because the first time he said, I said, I don't know this word, but then when he continued speaking, I understood. So it's a very important part of the goalkeeper work as a young ages. Don't be afraid of the ball. So to work with different types of balls, different sizes, different weights, can be a very good way to improve that goal, and also with your teammate, or if you don't have it, to throw it to behind you and throw it to the wall for you to save with your body, with your face, with your chest. Can be a good way to improve that goal in a specific way. Then also in the goal, because we are speaking about drills outside the goal, but it's also very important to do it in the goal. So some warm-up exercises in the beginning of the warm-up, to ask to your coach, let me do a set with some shooting near me, and not 100% of course, but to save with your body, and to don't be afraid of that shot. Can be two ways.
Thanks, João. I think Nathan, you need to be like me. You need to slow down. I was too slow to move out the way of the ball, so that's why I was often hit. So you need to slow down, mate. You're too quick. Chris, back to you.
Yeah. So brilliant. Thank you very much, guys, for getting involved and showing your examples of the goal setting there. As Bob said, this is going to be a big part of what we do. Is trying to figure out ways that we can engage in a bit of a two-way conversation, not just sort of lecturing you over Zoom. So it's important that you get used to feeding back in that sort of way on these calls. But as I could see on my video then, I think I could see Luke Chung nodding off a little bit. So I think we'll just wrap it up there. If anybody's got any questions now, you can have 10 seconds, little 10-second countdown to ask any questions you want, and we'll answer as best we can. But if not, then you'll all be free to go after that. So is there any questions now? Okay, I will take the deafening silence as a no. But brilliant, thank you so much for all your efforts today, guys. I heard from the other tutors that you've really smashed it today. Thanks for getting involved in this session, and I look forward to seeing you more on the DiSE program over the next couple of years.
Chris, thanks so much for that, and thank you everyone for your attendance. Can I ask, before everyone jumps out, if the guys that are in Loughborough, if you just hang on for a second, so myself and Joao can just have a quick conversation about next week and the plan going forward. But yeah, everyone else, feel free to exit the meeting, and we'll catch up with you soon with a debrief email regarding this weekend. So thanks again for your time, and we'll speak soon.
Thanks, everyone.
John, you're welcome to stay in as well, by the way.
I was going to.
Yeah. You did invite, mate.
Always Joao, John.
Thanks, Chris.
Good to see you all. I'm sure I'll see you all soon.
Bye, Chris.
Yeah. Let me leave.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Is everybody there now?
We're missing somebody, aren't we?
Yeah, we're missing Hannah Saunders is not here. I'm not sure if there's an issue with her internet or something. We've got all the boys.
Is Hannah there? In accommodation. Hannah was in the car earlier. Is she there, Lucy? Do you know? Yeah, is Hannah there? I know you're there.
She's here, but I think she's just settling in, so I don't think she's online yet.
It's all good. We can get this information relayed to her anyway. And there's nothing too formal other than say that.
Bobby, you're still recording, by the way. Just you might want to stop the recording.